All right, everyone. So let's talk about Afghanistan under the Taliban. It's been a month since the Taliban took over. And since that time, I have heard numerous reports from the media about how there may be possible deals between Russia and the Taliban, between China and the Taliban, and the United States may just work with the new Taliban government. We don't know. But they're talking as if this Taliban government is going to be just in power for a long time, and they're going to be ruling Afghanistan with this new Islamic government. The fact is that the Taliban is already crumbling. The Taliban is already breaking apart. There are already internal rifts within the Taliban's ranks. There was even a scuffle, like a physical a fight between two Taliban leaders. Supposedly, Mullah Baradar got into a fight with another Taliban leader right after they took over Afghanistan. So there's already rifts. There are already tensions between Taliban leaders, and it really shows you that the Taliban itself is not unified. There was an article that was published today by Radio Free Europe, the Russian branch of the publication, and it talks about how there are already signs of factionalism within the Taliban. Already, there are signs of factionalism. And the people of Afghanistan are miserable. So many people in Afghanistan hate the Taliban. So many people in Afghanistan want to leave Afghanistan. And so, how can you actually govern a country efficiently when so many people want to leave and when so many people are miserable? So many Afghans are living in poverty and starvation. And so, how can you rally the people around you? How can you shore up support for your regime when people are miserable? You have to give people a reason to like you. And if there is no reason to like you, then they're not going to support you. Plus, there are already signs of the beginning stages of a civil war in Afghanistan. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, but there has already been fighting between Taliban fighters and rebels, people who are resisting Taliban rule. And they have killed Taliban members. They have killed Taliban jihadis and fighters. So there are already signs of fragmentation, disunity, and rifts within Afghanistan and within the Taliban government. You can tell how strong a government is going to be by just looking at the rulers themselves. You can really get an idea. Like, when you look at a country where people are very tough, people are very resilient, like Ukraine, you look at the Euromaidan, for example. You see these fighters, these rebels in the Euromaidan square in 2014 in Kiev. These guys looked tough. They had helmets on. They were holding up shields. They were fighting the police. They were fighting riot control. They were throwing Molotov cocktails. I mean, these guys were tough. A lot of these guys were trained mercenaries. They were paramilitaries, and they were fighting hardcore against the pro-Russian fighters in Donbass. And you can tell by looking at these guys, like, those guys are tough. Those guys are a legitimate force. Those guys are a force that you would be scared of, that you would be concerned about, because they will fight you. They will fight you. and there's a good chance that they can beat you. But you look at these Taliban guys, and you like when I see, for example, these Ukrainian guys, suits, they're clean cut, or they have military attire on, and they have firepower. They have serious firepower. You're like, okay, those guys are legitimate. They have some serious training that they go through. But you look at these Taliban guys, they have like turbans, they're wearing pajamas, gowns. They just don't look like fighters. I don't know about you, but they don't look like fighters to me. They don't look like fighters. When I look at the world of Islamic warriors, on the top of the list, to me, are the Chechens, Dagestanis, those Muslims of the North Caucasus. Those guys are tough. I mean, they were able to cripple the Russians. They were very good. They're still very good. And then you look at Turks, Central Asians. These guys are tough. They're very tough. Indonesians, tough people. I would be very worried about fighting a Turkish military force on the ground, because those guys are trained by NATO. They have NATO weapons. They have resilience. They have will. They look efficient. There's something to be said about the appearance of efficiency. This is why countries around the world, when they go through military training, it's not just about the training. It's also about being efficient and looking efficient. There's something to be said about that. That's why in the military, they care so much about presentation, getting your bed perfect. Your uniform has to be perfect. Your shoes have to be shined and perfect. Your form. They care a lot about how you appear, because how you appear is a reflection of who you are. And when you see a military force that looks efficient, I'm not talking about like Chinese guys throwing darts at wooden boards or some kind of bullcrap like that, like some Mulan Disney movie stuff. I'm talking about serious efficiency. When you look at it, it's scary. When you see guys coming down choppers, they're going down ropes. They can do marksmanship. They're very efficient with weapons. When soldiers are efficient, they look efficient. So when you see people from efficient military forces, or even mercenary groups or paramilitaries, When I see the Taliban, I don't know. I don't see that. 9/11 happened. The American government said, okay, we're going to invade Afghanistan. Before the Americans invaded Afghanistan, the Taliban was just so excited. We're going to beat the Americans, they said. The Americans will stand no chance to us, they said. The Americans came and they got their B-52s and they bombed the shit out of Afghanistan. And the Taliban ran away. They ran away into Pakistan. That's the reality. They're not good fighters. The Taliban is a joke. It is a joke. Sure, they can be brutal. Sure, they can be ruthless and cruel. But when it comes to actually fighting a serious military force, the Taliban is a joke. The Americans can destroy them in a matter of weeks, maybe even less. The Americans can repulse them, make them retreat and run away in a very short amount of time. They're just like ISIS. ISIS was brutal, ruthless, vicious, all of those things. But when it came down to actually fighting against NATO and Russia, ISIS got its ass kicked. ISIS controlled Iraq at one point in time. They had their Islamic State that didn't last very long. Where's this Islamic State? It's not there anymore. It's gone because ISIS sucked at fighting. They were not efficient at fighting. So you can't just focus on like all of the fear that a group causes. Like the Taliban causes fear. People think, oh, they're like badasses. No, they're not. They're just a bunch of ragtag soldier, not even soldiers. They're like a ragtag group of people, males, who just want to rape and pillage and smoke hashish, and they're pedophiles, and they're drug dealers, and they're drug addicts. That's what they are. They're just a bunch of drug dealers. They're like the Mexican drug cartel. Another perfect example. Just popped into my head. Perfect example. Mexican drug cartel. The Mexican drug cartel is very good at projecting fear. They're very good at causing fear, at creating an environment of fear. They'll kill people at random. They'll murder innocent people. They'll kidnap girls. They'll kidnap children. They'll do organs trafficking. People are horrified of them. But in 2013 into 2014, and also a part of 2015, there was a small little civil war that took place in southern Mexico. And it was between farmers who called themselves autodefensas, which means self-defense groups, and the narcos. In this case, it was the Caballeros Templarios cartel. And these narco guys, they had big old assault rifles, and they were very scary. The farmers were very creative. They had their 22 caliber rifles, and some of them had assault rifles. And because the farmers are so used to hunting deer and shooting iguanas, it was pretty easy for them to shoot at armed insurgents, at armed narco terrorists. And they were able to take out a lot of these narco guys, and a lot of times these narco guys would literally run away. It didn't take long for these peasants to drive these narcos out of their towns. So that really tells me everything about the narcos of Mexico. They're not good fighters. They're just murderers. That's all they are. Same thing with the Taliban. Pretty soon, the Taliban is going to be either driven to the ground by some NATO force, or they're going to become a puppet, or really a whore, of some more powerful government. Could be the Russians, could be the Turks. My prediction is that Turkey is going to enter Afghanistan, and basically they're going to be the major military force in Afghanistan. Or another possibility is that Russia and Turkey will both enter Afghanistan, just like in Iraq, just like in Syria and Libya, and they're going to be vying for hegemony in that country. Regardless, the Taliban isn't going to continue forever being the ruling regime of Afghanistan. It's going to be taken out in some way. Their power is going to be eclipsed. It's going to be deconstructed. It's going to be broken down in some way. And that's it. That's it. I'm not putting a tremendous amount of weight for the Taliban. They suck at fighting. They're a joke. They didn't even take over Afghanistan through actual fighting. They took over Afghanistan by bribing people to take power. They didn't take it over through warfare. That's the reality. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.